Does money buy happiness? Look, there's a lot of people out there that'll tell you money doesn't buy happiness, right? I'm sure people in your family have said this, people that you know have said this. You probably even hear wealthy people say money doesn't buy you happiness, and they're probably all wrong. In fact, I would say that for 99% of people, money can buy happiness. And here's where I'm coming from with this. Look, if you have no money, let's say you're living at the poverty level, right? Let's say even you're making minimum wage or even better, you're making an average American salary, right? The average American makes about $60,000 a year. Let's do the math on this, right? Inflation is up. Right now, inflation is up to almost 10%. Okay? The economy overall is stagnating, right? They're calling this stagflation, right? That the economy is stagnating, but inflation is very high. Gas prices are high. Rents and the cost of a home are up. Everything is up. So if the price of everything you have to buy is going up and your income is only going up 2 to 3 or 4% a year, how happy are you going to be when you're trying to live off the same money that supported you last year, but living in a 10% inflation world? How happy are you going to be when instead of going on vacation once or twice a year, you can't go on vacation at all, and you have to think before you get in your car to drive somewhere whether or not it's worth it to drive, or you should rearrange your schedule to drive to it when you have to drive another day anyways? How happy are you going to be when you can't afford to send your kids to a nicer school? How happy are you going to be when you can't buy organic food, you can't buy healthy food that's going to make you feel good? How happy are you going to be when you're stressed to pay your bills? Look, money buys happiness, period. And it's not the money itself. Like if I gave you $10,000 but nobody accepts the currency I give it in, you're probably not going to be happy. It's not going to matter, right? It's not going to matter at all because it's just paper at that point. But money buys options, and options are where happiness comes from. Having the ability to decide for yourself what you want and to be able to get it. And you can't get that if you're poor. There was a great quote. I'm not sure who said it. I think it was Bernard Shaw. What was that guy's name? Anyways, he basically said it's every man's first duty in life is to not be poor. The reason for that is because, first of all, if you can't take care of yourself, you can't help anyone else, right? If you live in a society where there's people that need help, how are you supposed to help them if you can't even take care of your own basic needs? How are you supposed to improve on what already exists in the world if you don't have any capital, if you don't have any money? And look, 10 years ago, 11 years ago now, I was a communist. So like if you're watching this and you're like very socialistic or you're very communistic and you say, well, if all the rich people didn't have all the money in the world and it was spread out evenly and so on, people's lives would be better. That's not true. People who don't know how to manage their money lose their money, right? There was a very wealthy guy that was once quoted as saying basically that if you dispersed all the money equally amongst everybody, at some point all the wealthy people would have the money again. Why is that? Because being wealthy is a matter of having the discipline to be able to manage your capital, to be able to manage your units of energy, right? Because money is basically a quantified version of energy. And what I mean by quantified energy is you go out in the world, you make something better by working, right? You work, and what you do improves the world in some measurable way. Now look, if you work for like a tobacco company or an alcohol company or maybe something else, maybe that's not true, but people buy cigarettes and tobacco and alcohol because they want to feel good. So if they like that and that's what they want, you can still say, well, I'm improving the world because I give people what they want. They would get it somehow anyway, right? They'd grow their own tobacco. They'd make their own alcohol. So if you're trying to live a good life, if you're trying to be happy, being poor obviously isn't the way. So why is it that in the world that we live in right now, there's so many people that say money doesn't make you happy? Part of it is because money doesn't make you happy is basically a microscript. A microscript is there's a great book written called The Microscript Rules. It was written by a marketing guy who basically said, like, if you want to sell a lot of products, you need to be able to effectively use microscripts. And it's basically something that gets people repeating it, and it builds a story in their mind. Another great microscript is what happens in Las Vegas stays in Las Vegas. But here's the thing, if you get HIV in Las Vegas, is it staying in Las Vegas or is it going home with you? It's going home with you, right? So most microscripts that people use, like what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas and money won't make you happy, aren't actually true. They're not true. And the problem with it is people repeat it until they've brainwashed themselves into believing that that's what the truth is. And the real truth is life is more complicated than saying something like money won't make you happy. If you have enough money that you can go on the vacations you want to go on, you can live life on your own terms, you can eat well, you can put your kids in good schools where you know they're being set up to be successful in life, where you have time to spend with your family. Because look, here's the other thing, right? If you just work all the time, you don't have any time for your family, you're not going to be any happier, right? You still have to have that part of the puzzle in order to be happy. But the real truth is life is too complicated to follow single phrase axioms that mean absolutely nothing. I mean, we already know right now in this conversation with, you on the other side of this watching this video, we already know being poor is a sure way to not be happy. Not being able to pay your bills, right? Being stressed because things aren't working out for you. Not being able to take care of your family. Those things are a sure way to not make you happy. Money absolutely can buy happiness, but you have to know ahead of time what is it you're trying to buy. Right? If you want to be healthy, you're trying to eat organic foods and grass-fed meats, or maybe you're a vegan, you just want to eat lettuce all day, or whatever you do. Whatever it is that you're trying to go after, it's going to require money. It's going to require you to show up, cash in hand, and purchase it. Everything you want can be bought. And to take this example to the extreme, right now in the world, there are more people in slavery than ever before in history, because people can literally spend money to have somebody steal a person and enslave them for them. So at the extreme, most negative end of the spectrum, there's really not anything out there that you can't buy. But the cool thing about the world is we live in a world that's full of mostly good people. In fact, the world wouldn't function, right? If you go into a building, there's 10,000 people in the building and 9,999 of them are like total psychopaths. It's not going to work. People are just going to tear each other apart. You see this in animals. You see this with chimpanzees. Chimpanzees actually go to war with each other. They will literally rip the limbs of other chimpanzees right out of their bodies. Literally rip them to pieces. So if the majority of people in the world weren't good, this wouldn't work. But the good news is it does. And it works because everybody wants what they want. So if you identify for yourself, what do you want for your family? What do you want for your fitness? What do you want financially? How do you want to set your entire family up, right? A lot of people like to talk about legacy and, generational wealth and all these other terms that literally mean nothing. What is that for you? Are you setting your family up that if you raise your kids right and you take care of them, that financially they could continue to compound your success? What do you want for your fulfillment? Maybe there's an organization out there that's doing something that is a charitable organization that they're saving the rainforest, or they're reducing how many homeless people there are in the world, or how many people don't have food or water. How are you going to be fulfilled? There is not a single thing on this planet right now that you cannot fix if you have enough money. So if you want to change your life, you want to improve your life every single day, you should always be thinking, how can I make more money? How can I be more financially successful? Because everything you want, everything, there's literally nothing out there that doesn't erode without enough capital. Even relationships, the majority of the reason why people get divorced? Money. Money problems will cause a divorce faster than almost anything else. So whatever it is that you want, tell anybody. If somebody says to you, money can't buy you happiness, tell them to go fuck themselves and to get out of your face. You cannot allow people to talk like that to you and for you to continue believing this lie that money can't buy you happiness. Everything you need, everything you want costs money. And look, if you're like a communist or a socialist or whatever, you have these ideas, you're like, I read Karl Marx and I'm so smart because of this. Look, here's the thing. Even in societies that are highly socialist or highly communist, there is still a class of people every single time, all of history, always, there's a class of people that rules all the dumb, stupid people running around in the society. So everybody else fights over resources because for whatever reason, it just never works out. I don't know. I'm not a genius. I'm not going to say that I know the answers to all this stuff. But what I will say is the reason why that never works out is because there's one group of people that win and everybody else loses. And that's why capitalism is such a great system. It's not perfect, but it is the best system so far. It's the best thing as a species we've been able to figure out because everybody has a chance to live the way they want to live if they're willing to work for it, if they're willing to learn and educate themselves on how finances work. How does capital work? How do I get more of it? How do I accumulate it so that I can buy assets, things that pay me money? So if you run into people who say this stuff to you, they say money can't buy happiness, and there's somebody that you love and care about, you have to help correct them. You have to say, hey, look, you're wrong. Everything I want costs money. Everything my family wants costs money. Every single thing. And if you don't believe me, take some time. Do some homework on yourself. Write down everything you want. And then next to it, put a dollar amount. Because I guarantee you, your wife's happiness, your children's happiness, your fulfillment, physical fulfillment, your ability to feed yourself, your ability to home yourself, everything you want has a dollar sign next to it that if you write the correct number in, you can live an absolutely fantastic life. But it's not going to happen if you have this stupid idea in your head that money can't buy happiness, because the truth is you can buy everything you ever wanted and be happier than you've ever felt. And look, are there miserable rich people? Yeah. But there's probably way more miserable poor people. I was one of those people, and I would choose to be wealthy every single day. I would never once in my life say I wish I could go back to eating top ramen and tuna every day and donating plasma so I could pay my fucking phone bill. This stuff is stupid. You have to be sharp. You got to be sharper than the people around you. You have to be smart enough to say, hey, look, you know what? My baby needs formula. My family needs food. I want a nice house. I want to go on vacations. I want to have time to sit and think. I want to have time sometimes to just sit around and do nothing at all. You have to be sharper than these stupid things that people say, like money doesn't buy happiness. A penny saved is a penny earned. No, it's not. It's a penny saved. That's it. It's not anything else. That's all that is. And with inflation at 10%, a penny saved is not going to mean anything. That means that penny is worth 10% less than a penny. That means that penny is only worth 0.9 pennies. Are you really going to get rich off of that? Are you really going to live a great life because you saved a penny? You'd be better off getting a bunch of pennies, melting them down, and selling the copper, because the copper prices are worth more than the damn penny is by itself. So when people tell you things like this, you have to be sharp enough in your own mind to say that isn't true. You have to be sharp enough to even ask. Just say, is that true? Well, maybe it's true. Like if you're really miserable and you never really get happy about anything ever, having more money is probably not going to make you happier. But most people who are pretty miserable will never have enough money to know anyways. And if that's your problem, you're miserable, you're depressed, you're having problems and stuff like that, like you gotta work your way out of that. You have to analyze the situation you're in. The same as you have to analyze these things that people repeat over and over as if they're brainless zombies.